CP3 is, we're not even going to say no longer our son because he's not technically off the roster at all. He hasn't even been technically waived at all. Regardless of what Chris B. Haynes said yesterday, that's not official and it's been confirmed several times by the team. So, got a lot of movement going on, a lot of moving parts. Your initial reaction when you heard this news yesterday?
I was on my radio show, SiriusXM NBA Radio, 1 to 4 Pacific time every day. I was shocked when I heard it because it came from nowhere. Like normally I'm kind of privy.
Have you not heard about this stuff?
Like I said, result.
I got you.
Not the rumor, not the what could happen. I'm talking about if it's going down, I can think I can get alerted by it and I can find out a lot sooner than, guys like yourself. Because
I got ends. I don't know if you knew that.
I know you have ends and you have some locked outs too. So it was a shock, Saul. It was. I didn't know that was coming. And then when I obviously did my research and talked to some people, it was like, no, that's not the case. It's not an official transaction. But the way it came down, it looked like it. And I'll protect Chris Haynes, who I think he's for Bleacher Report. He's the one that came out with it. In this day and age of insiders, they always tend to want to beat the other to the punch. And then a lot of times they don't even protect each other if the person maybe got something wrong. And that to me bothers me.
Sure.
JJ Redick today on First Take kind of, I know what you did, JJ. You were kind of going at somebody, and then he's going to lift up Woj and say, Woj came out with the right story. Man, I've seen Woj jump to the forefront and make mistakes too, dude. So I'm going to protect my boy Chris Haynes because it seems to me you were trying to go at him. No, it ain't happening on my watch. I think they all have a job to do. They all rush to judgment. Obviously, Chris Haynes got some information. It wasn't totally correct, or maybe it was, a little propaganda involved. And it made news quickly. I was shocked. But I understand, Chris is making $30 million and he has a contract that says, all of it is not guaranteed. You talking to a dude, man, that dealt with non-guaranteed parts of his contract throughout his whole entire freaking career. So it's nothing unusual to me. And so I'm not shocked by it, but I'm hoping that it can work out and Chris can still be a son next year.
Yeah. $15.8 million is what Chris Paul's going to get regardless of what happens, whether it be stretched out, whether it be with another team, whether it be with the Suns. Guaranteed he's going to get that much money no matter how the Sun plays. Now, the thing that's left to be determined and what the rumor is that the Suns want him back. Chris wants to come back. They just got to make sure that the structure is right. And, obviously there's rumors out there of Chris coming back on the vet minimum, which would make it about $3 million. And then his total salary would be about 18. If he goes to another team, let's just say somebody picks him up off of waivers. Well, that team would owe him the full $30 million because they have picked up that option. Because it would be after the June 28th deadline.
Right.
So there's a lot of things to be determined, obviously, as we go forward. And I know Chris wants to get a quick resolution to this, but I'm here to tell you, I just don't see that happening because there's still other options that the Suns have at play in terms of maybe trade movement. And I know this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Eddie, being in that building, being a former NBA player, because of the longevity of Chris Paul's career, the Suns are not going to put him in a position that he doesn't want to be in if they can avoid it, right? They're not going to trade him to the Wizards because they want, a good return, or they want, or San Antonio if Chris doesn't have any interest in going to those places. I think by and large, Chris wants to either go to a championship level organization to possibly win a ring, or he wants to stay on the West Coast, mainly the Clippers, Lakers, or the Suns, I think are the three that he would see fit. You tell me if I'm wrong in terms of the Suns' approach in trying to do right by a player of Chris's caliber?
Well, of course. I think, when you get older in this league and, like I know I played till I was 40, and at the end of my career, I wanted to go to a team that had a chance to win. And Indiana Pacers, didn't make it easy for me. They traded me to Denver, and Denver was acting like they were going to keep me. And I was like, no, I'm not staying. Dick Motta was the coach. And I said, Dick, no, I'm not staying. And by the way, I don't have anything under my warm-up. So I'm not playing. It's a true story. It's a true story. I didn't have anything under my warm-up. We were down in Miami. I said, I'm not playing. I said, I need to leave. You got young forwards. I need to be out. It's not comfortable for me here. You're not going to play me. I'm not going to ride at the end of the bench. I still can play. So just give me an opportunity to leave. And they dragged and eventually they released me. And Dick Motta tried to actually put me in the game that night. And I told him, he laughed about it after. He said, Eddie, I was just kidding. Because I did not have anything on under my warm-up.
Would you just had like street clothes on?
I just had my warm-up on. And some underwear. True story. The guys on the team, the Denver team, was cracking up.
Oh,
Fonzo Ellis,
gosh.
Antonio McDyess, they all got a kick out of it.
You lucky you didn't have just like a lapse, it's just routine, right? They call your name, you know what I mean?
No, I knew I wasn't playing. I didn't have socks on, man.
I know, but still.
I didn't even have socks on.
Like that muscle memory might have kicked in and you're just like,
I worked out before the game because I knew that Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, they all wanted to look at me warm up. And I warmed up. Went out there and went through a workout. They were sitting there watching because they knew that I didn't want to be there. And so Alan Bristow was the GM of the Nuggets then, and he and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I told him, I said, I'm not playing for you. I'm at the end of my career. I retire. I don't care. I need to leave here and try to have a chance to go somewhere else. And they eventually did, and I signed with Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And so Chris is at the end of his career. He's put his time into this league. He's been tremendous. And I think, at the end, you want to at least make right by a player that really helped the organization go to the finals 2 years ago, play at an MVP level. So, of course, James Jones was going to try to do what's right for Chris in that regard. But then Chris has to know, and he does, that he's at the end of his career, and the league waits for no one. Yeah. Chris probably will go down as one of the highest paid players in the history of this game over a period of his career. So nobody's going to feel sorry for him on that end. I think people would love to see him have an opportunity to win a title. And hopefully it can work out to where he's still here.
Compensation-wise, I think, Chris Paul, I don't think is a $30 million a year type of player anymore. I do believe he was when he was, the first couple of years he was with the Suns. I think Chris could see that. I would be shocked if a team out there on the market picks him up on waivers at that salary. That's a lot of money to pay for a player who at this point of his career, you don't know if you're going to get a full regular season out of. And then more importantly, if you were to get to the playoffs, what his reliability would be in the playoffs, because we've seen it for 3 straight years here, how up and down that has been. I think he's somewhere in between, and I think the $18 to $20 million range is something a team can swallow and they can be satisfied with. I think the $3 million of the Suns would pay him on the veteran minimum, plus the $15 that they would already owe him. I see it highly likely that he would come back at a lower rate. And with the additions of other things that might happen and moves that might happen with, there's rumors of DA being out there and, being a possible trade candidate and whoever you can bring in. I think bringing Chris Paul back is a solid move for the Suns. Now, I don't think you can position this team as a threesome or a foursome of solid players because of the inconsistency in different ways with DA and Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. So you need to find somebody else that's going to be able to come in and be a solid contributor on a more consistent basis to help out the other two in KD and Devin Booker. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for the Suns this offseason, whether Chris Paul's in the fold or not.
Yeah. Well, obviously they're going to make some additions to the team. And trust me, it's going to be a lot of players. It's not a ton of top-notch players out there that's going to be free agents. But There's a lot of guys in the middle class that can help this team. Suns have two tremendous players in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And DeAndre Ayton is still in uniform. No matter what you say about him, he is definitely a top echelon center in the league. And so when you have that kind of talent, now you just got to build around it. And so keeping Chris Paul, adding to the point guard position, where he doesn't have to play a ton of minutes, to have security there, a little bit more physicality at the forward position. All those areas I think need to be shored up. And I'm not talking about physicality and size, right? Length, as I would say, because I think they need that kind of guy to protect Devin and Kevin Durant. So there's some things that they have to shore up, and I'm sure they will in that regard. But, Look, this is a short window with the Chris Paul situation. This has to come to a head here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm sure Chris would like to have it happen and a decision made here in the next few days, but it's definitely going to happen in the next few weeks. And so this is something that, we will see evolve here over the next few days.